Welcome back. In the last lecture, we discussed about the basic understanding of the network and internet. Now, in this lecture, we will be discussing about the network edge and the network core. So let's get started. So first, let us understand the network edge. Computers and other devices are connected at the edge, that is, end of the network. These computers are known as host or end system. Routers are known as edge router. It defines those computers on the network used at the edge of the network. A host can be classified into two types, client and server, which I will discuss further. As you can see in the diagram here, that the computers connected in the institution here are the host. The laptops, the servers are the host. And the edge router is the here. Regional ISP and global ISP are the edge routers. The concept of client and server is essential in the network design. The various network design models are peer-to-peer network and client-server network. First, let us understand peer-to-peer network. So, in this network, group of computers are connected together so that user can share resources and information. As you can see in the diagram here, there is no central server for authenticating users. Each of them works as both client and server. That is, a system can be client and a server at the same time. This means that the user must remember which computers in the work group have the shared resource or information they want to access. One example of peer-to-peer network is the BitTorrent. Now, let us understand the advantages of peer-to-peer network. The first one is the peer-to-peer network is easy to set up. As you can see, it doesn't require any external server or something. There is no need for any committed server, as each peer acts as both server and client. The network implementation is quite cheap. Usually, the price of the servers setup and all that stuff is very high. So, if there is no server, then the price is obviously cheap. The resources of a peer can be shared with other peers very easily in the network. Since without it has no central server for authenticating users, so the resources can be shared to from one peer to another very easily. Now, this peer-to-peer network has some disadvantages too. The first one is the speed of the network decreases due to heavy usage. Next is it is not easy to keep track of information on each computer. As there is no centralized server, it is very hard to keep track of the processes taking place. There is no central backup of files and folders. So if the files in one computer is deleted, so no one can access it. Network and data security are weak. It is easy to penetrate. Now, let's look towards the client server network. Here, let us understand what is a client and what is a server. A client refers to a computer system that requests servers for completion of a task. Generally, they are the PCs or workstation. Now, servers refers to the computer system that receive requests from the client and process them. After the processing is complete, the server send a reply to the clients who sent a request. These servers are the web servers, email servers. The client requests a service from a server, which may include running an application, querying a database, printing a document, performing a backup, or recovery procedure. The request made by the client is handled by the server. As you can see in the diagram here, that a laptop computer, a mobile device, or a computer, desktop computer, is connected to a server via the internet. Now they can send the request to the server, and their request is fulfilled by the server. A client or server network is that in which the files and resources are centralized. This means that the server can hold them and other computers can access them. Computers or client. Now, this network also has some advantages and some disadvantages. Let's look towards the advantages first. The server system holds the shared files. The server system can be scheduled to take the backup files automatically. So, if any file is deleted from one system, it can be easily taken back. Network access is provided only to authorized users through user security and server. So, unlike the peer-to-peer connection, not every computer can share their data. You need to be authorized to use the server. The server system is kind of central repository for sharing a printer with clients. So, this client server network has been used in the printers too. Many devices are connected to a same printer at the same time. Internet access, email routing, and such other networking tasks are easily managed by the server. The software applications shared by the server are accessible to the client. These were the advantages of the client server network. Now let's look towards the disadvantages of the client server network. The implementation of the network is quite expensive. Unlike the peer to peer connection, there is a server over here. So it is quite expensive. And network operating system is essential. If a server fails, the entire network crashes. If the server here somehow fails and so the networking between these three devices or how many devices that are connected to the server, their network crashes. There may be congestion if more than one client requests from us for a service at the same time. Now suppose this laptop computer and the mobile device are requesting for the same resource at the same time. Now if we consider more than two devices, plenty of the device are requesting the same file at the same time, then the server might be, there may be a congestion and the server might crash. So these were the basics of the client server network. So now let's look towards the network core. The network core defines the connection of different network segments together and process to transmit data packets across the network. It means that we are going to see how the data is actually transferred over the internet. This concept is being used in the network core. It is implemented through the use of switching technique. We are going to study here two switching techniques, that is circuit switch networks and packet switch network. At first, let us see the circuit switching. Circuit switching is used in public telephone networks and is the basis for private network built on leased lines. So a dedicated channel has to be established before the call is made between the user. This channel is reserved between the user till the connection is active. So there are two ways of doing that. The first one is half duplex, that is one-way communication. Only one channel is allocated. And for the two-way communication, that is full duplex, two channels are allocated. It is mainly used for voice communication, as I said. Circuit switching was developed to handle voice traffic but also digital data. But it is a little bit inefficient in handling the digital data. With circuit switching, a dedicated path is established between two stations for communication. Now, as you can see in the diagram here, that this telephone has been connected to this telephone. So they are in communication. Similarly, this too, the blue connection line has been established. But now we can see here that the telephone over here wants to communicate with this telephone, but there is already an established line over here, the red line. So this device cannot be connected to this device until this connection has been disconnected. So now let us see the communication via circuit switching involves three phases. The first one is circuit establishment. The second one is data transfer. The third one is circuit disconnect. Let us understand this with a diagram. Device A wants to communicate with device B. So at first, the request has been sent and the connection has been established. Now once the circuit has been established, that is our first part. Now the data transfer begins. And when the data transfer is completed, the circuit is disconnected. The connection is closed by the device B. Now the time between the connection and the disconnected is known as the total delay. Now let's look towards the packet switching. It is not required to establish the connection initially here. The packet switching was designed to provide a more efficient facility than circuit switching for burst traffic. The connection or channel is available to use by users, but when traffic or number of users increases, then it will lead to congestion. That is, the network may crash. These packet switching networks are mainly used for data and voice applications requiring non-real-time scenarios. At each node, packets are received, stored briefly, and passed on to the next node. Here, as you can see in the diagram here, store and forward mechanism. Each packet contains some portion of the user data plus control info needed for proper functioning of the network. A key element of the packet switching network is whether the internal operation is datagram or virtual circuit. Examples of packet switching networks are X.25, frame relay, ATM, and IP. Station breaks a long message into packets. A station here breaks a long message into packets. Packets are sent one at a time to the network. Now these packets are handled in two ways: datagram and virtual circuits. Now let us understand the datagram first. In the datagram method, each packet is treated independently. Packets can take any practical route. Packets may arrive out of order. Packets may go missing. up to receiver to reorder packets and recover from missing packets. So that is in the datagram method, there is a complete chaos. The packets are created, the packets are sent, very may arrive out of order. There will be no significant order in the arriving of the packets. Some packets may go missing. So it's up to the receiver. Like here, the user 2 will be receiver for user 1. It will be up to the user 2 for how he will be processing reorder packets and the missing packets. Now the second option is virtual circuit. Now in the virtual circuits, there are pre-planned routes established for packets. Once the route is established, all the packets between two communicating parties follow the same route through the network. Call request and call accept from the packets. Each packet contains a virtual circuit identifier instead of a destination address. No routing decisions required for each packet. Clear request to drop circuit. Not a dedicated path. So it's almost the opposite of the datagram here in the virtual circuit. Instead of all the chaos, mostly the things are defined in the virtual circuit. And once the route is established, all the packets follow the same path. And each packet contains here a virtual circuit identifier or VCI instead of a destination address. Now, to summarize the datagram and virtual circuit, let me give you a proper definition here. With internal virtual circuit, that is VC, a route is defined between two endpoints and all packets for that virtual circuit follows the same route. And with the datagram, each packet is treated independently. All packets intended for the same destination may follow different routes. This is the basic difference between the datagram and the virtual circuit. Now let us see the differences between circuit switching and packet switching. The first one is dedicated path between the source and destination. A path is always predefined in the circuit switching, and in the packet switching, no dedicated path. All packets use the same path in the circuit switching, whereas in the packet switching, packet may travel independently. In the circuit switching, the entire bandwidth is reserved in advance, and in the packet switching, it does not reserve the bandwidth. Due to the reserved bandwidth in advance, there is a bandwidth wastage in the circuit switching, whereas in the packet switching, no bandwidth wastage. No store and forward transmission. As in circuit switching, it is a real-time communication. Now, in the next lecture, we will be looking forward to transmission media and network topologies. See you in the next lecture.